So we were discussing about chips and we discussed
It's not visible, it's blurred.
it's not visible.
Yes, now visible.
Okay. So
Zoom in.
Sir, it is very blurred.
all right. So we were discussing about the chips and we primarily discussed about three different kinds of chips, that is continuous chip, discontinuous chip, and built-up edge. So these are the primary three kinds of chips which appear while doing the machining. The important point here is to note that the same kind of chip is produced in all the machining operation, be it a single point cutting operation like a turning operation on a lathe, or be it multi-point cutting operation like drilling or milling. So all the machining operations have almost similar physics behind that. The same tool interacts with the workpiece and removes the material in form of chips. So let's talk something more about the physics which is related to chips. So if you consider, if you remember this three-dimensional image, so that is a cutting tool which is fed against the workpiece, and the workpiece is sheared along this shearing plane, and the chip flows upside over the rake surface of the cutting tool. And we also know that the angle which cutting tool makes from the vertical is called rake angle, and generally we represent it by alpha. The angle by which the shear plane exists from the horizontal plane is called shear angle, and it is generally denoted by phi. So these are the universal notations for rake angle and shear angle. Here we must note that the tool is, let's say tool is fed with a speed of V, and chip is moving with a speed of, let's say, upside, and at any particular instant the chip is moving with a speed of Vc. Let's say shearing is taking place along this plane, and shear plane moves, the shearing happens chip wise. Each chip from this plane moves upside. So you can say this is a series of chip which I have shown here. So there are actually multiple chips, one chip, two. So you can just divide it into multiple parts. And each chip is moving with certain speed, and this movement also takes place along this shearing zone. So this shearing zone also has a velocity, what we say is called shear velocity, Vs. So shear velocity generally remains in this direction. So shear velocity is the nothing but the velocity of shearing. Shearing starts from here, moves up to here. So if you look at the overall system, the system is in equilibrium. This is a classic case of equilibrium in motion. You say the tool is continuously fed, the chip is continuously moving upside. So a certain kind of equilibrium is maintained in overall operation of a single point cutting tool. So therefore, whenever we analyze a single point cutting tool system, we consider the whole system to remain exist in equilibrium. And you know, if a system exists in equilibrium, it can various forces or velocity, they can form polygons which often close. So here three velocities exist. So we can say if it is a cutting velocity v in this direction, and if there is this shearing velocity vs, then this triangle must close if the whole system is in equilibrium. Therefore, the amount of the velocity of the chip can be determined using this velocity triangle. So velocity triangle for a cutting operation consists of three different kinds of velocities, and at any particular moment, the velocity triangle closes. Okay. Earlier, we have also discussed about chip thickness ratio. So chip thickness ratio R is defined as the ratio of uncut chip thickness over cut chip thickness. And we also know that R is always less than 1. That's because the deformation takes place in the chip before failure, and this deformation causes immense strain in the chip. Sometimes the strain remains more than 5 times. If the material is ductile, such as mild steel or stainless steel, the thickness of the chip actually increases by 5 times than uncut chip thickness. See, the tool has been fed to this, and this is uncut chip thickness. Let's say this is T naught. And here, if you see this chip has a thickness of TC, let's say, then TC in most of the cases remain more than 5 times than T naught, and therefore R is always less than 1. So opposite of R is called chip compression ratio. 1 by R is called chip compression ratio, and it actually says that how many times the strain has taken place in the chip. So it is nothing but the ratio of cut chip thickness over uncut. So it actually means that how many times the thickness of cut chip has been increased compared to uncut chip thickness. So both of these terms are used whenever we discuss about chips. Also, if we want to do some more analysis of chip thickness ratio, if you see this zone, if you see this shear zone, so I'm just trying to make another figure for shear zone. So let's say this point is O and this point is S. S is for shear. So let's say if this is O, this is origin point, and this is shear point. And let's say this is tool chip interface. You can say this is the tool. So let's draw a perpendicular from S on this horizontal. This is a shear plane OS, and OS makes an angle phi. And let's draw a perpendicular here M, and let's also draw a perpendicular on this tool chip interface, and let's say this is N, where this is perpendicular here, this is perpendicular here. Let's also draw a horizontal line, and let's say it is P. So we also know that this angle is rake angle and it is alpha. Okay, so if say this is alpha and this is phi, this will also become phi, and what will be this angle? See, this is 90 degree. So this angle becomes 90 minus alpha, and so this angle becomes phi minus 90 minus alpha. Therefore, this angle becomes 90 minus alpha. So if we want to see how we can further, we want to analyze how we can further expand the term for chip thickness ratio. So we can say cos phi minus alpha which is nothing but this angle is phi minus alpha. No? So cos phi minus alpha will become, see, Sn by Os. Okay, so therefore Os will become what? Os is, Sn is nothing but chip thickness. It is a perpendicular, Sn is nothing but this perpendicular thickness. So we can write Os is, Sn is Tc over cos phi minus alpha. Or you can write Os is also equal to T naught over sine alpha, sorry, sine phi. What is T naught? Here you see this Sm is T naught. No? This Sm is uncut chip thickness. So here sine phi is Os by T naught, or Os is T naught by sine phi. So you can again write R, which is the ratio of T naught over Tc, can be written as Os sine phi divided by Os cos phi minus alpha, which you can again write like sine phi over cos phi minus alpha. Again, we can further expand it. So we can write R cos phi minus alpha is equal to sine phi. So cos A minus B simply means cos A cos B sine plus sine A sine B. So I'm just writing cos phi cos alpha plus sine phi sine alpha, that is equal to sine phi. Or you will further expand it, so you can just write like r cos phi plus tan phi sin alpha is equal to tan phi. Or just a bit more, r cos alpha sorry, here I'm just writing alpha, r cos alpha is equal to tan phi 1 minus r sin phi. Or if we will just one more way to expand it is tan phi is r cos alpha upon 1 minus r sin alpha. So this is an important expression when we determine shear angle phi and its relationship with alpha and chip thickness ratio r. So determining shear angle phi is not easy. It's very tough, and therefore we are fully dependent on this expression in order to determine what will be the shear angle. Now, as we have already determined the shear angle and the ratio uh, of shear plane angle with respect to chip thickness as well as rake angle, the shear is always accompanied by a strain which we say shear strain. So if we look, if we see at this image again, so initially the chip was like this, which was undeformed, O, A, B, and S. After the deformation, after the tool is fed here, the chip gets deformed and comes into the shape of O, K, S, and let's say this is L. So if we get more focus on this zone, OKA, so I'm just making this zone in bit detail, OKA. And if we draw a perpendicular here on this line KA, then shear strain, if you remember from strength of material course, is simply defined as the ratio of AK over ON. This is nothing but tan phi. A shear strain is always defined in terms of angle, and it is ratio of AK over ON. Shear strain is generally denoted by the term gamma. And if you want more detail about how to define shear strain, I think you should refer to some book on strength of materials, but that is how it is simply defined. And AK is here, if we want to further expand, is nothing but AN plus nk over on, and further we can write an over on plus nk over on, and that is nothing but an by on is cot phi plus nk by on is tan phi minus alpha. This is you can just simply determine these angles. So if you want to determine these angles, here we can say this angle is alpha, this angle is phi. So for this triangle, we can simply write alpha plus angle AKO plus angle AOK is pi. Okay, or again you can write like phi plus angle AKO plus AOK will become pi minus
Sir, not visible.
pi by 2 plus alpha. That is equal to pi. So we can further write it like pi plus angle AKO is equal to pi by 2 plus alpha, or angle AKO is pi by 2 plus alpha minus phi, or again angle KON will become pi by 2 minus pi by 2 plus alpha minus phi. That is also equivalent to phi minus alpha. So gamma, which is shear strain, is a function of two angles, that is shear angle phi and rake angle alpha. Also, you must understand that it is directly proportional to, inversely proportional to angle phi. So if you increase the angle phi, the shear strain will reduce. Okay. Although the relationship is bit complex and we need further mathematical derivations in order to determine how the phi and alpha depend. But in most cases, if you will increase this phi, it means the shear angle, the shear strain will reduce. Also, you must notice that this phi, the shear angle, plays a very important role while doing the machining operation. So if you will increase the phi, so let's say if you have increased phi here, then this plane will go something like this. And if you will reduce the phi, this plane will become like this. So if you reduce the phi, this plane will become larger. And if you increase the phi, this plane will become smaller. And if the plane becomes larger, it means that there is a large shear plane, which also means that there will be more heat, there will be more friction, there will be more power requirement. In opposite case, if you increase the phi, the amount of shear plane will reduce. And if the shear plane is reduced, it means that there will be less heat, less friction, and so on. So various effects related to phi and alpha can be determined over shear strain phi using this equation. And mathematically, if you will see, then shear strain is always inversely proportional to alpha phi and alpha. Okay. So if you will increase the rake angle again by using this expression, you can simply find that the shear strain again decreases, or if you increase this phi, shear strain decreases. So now controlling this shear strain is bit tough, but controlling rake angle, you see phi, gamma and phi both are very, very tough to control. The only thing which you can control is alpha, rake angle. So again, if you want more shear strain, it means that you should have a tool which has less rake angle. Okay. So a smaller rake angle tool will produce large strain, or large rake angle tool will result in small strain. So it again, now you can determine that if you want more strain in the chip, more strain, you must also note that strain is always strain always corresponds to stress. So there will be more stress, so more deformation. So if the rake angle is low, there will be more deformation. If rake angle is high, there will be less deformation. Now let's talk about forces. Forces are very important in machining operation, and in fact the whole machine tool design is based on the number of forces involved, the extent of forces which are appearing during the machining operation. So these forces have been analyzed by various authors, but one of the most important author is Merchant and Shaw. So they have actually analyzed the whole cutting operation mathematically on the basis of some physical laws and determined various aspects of force analysis. I hope that most of the things what I'm just mentioning here is same as you have already studied in your courses earlier. So force analysis also considers some assumptions. So one assumption is we consider the whole operation is as orthogonal cutting operation. So actually there are two different kind of cutting operation which take place. One is orthogonal and another is oblique cutting. So there is a question from someone who is asking that how the shear strain is dependent. By using simple this equation, you can determine the dependence of shear strain on phi. So if you increase the phi, the gamma will decrease, you know, or if you increase the alpha, the gamma will again decrease. It's a simple mathematical expression which can determine the dependence of shear strain over phi and alpha. So I'm just keeping your voice open. You can always obstruct me in between. You can always ask questions, okay? Because I do not notice your chats very often. Anyways, let's talk about orthogonal cutting and oblique cutting. So orthogonal cutting is simply defined as a cutting operation in which the cutting tool is perpendicular to cutting velocity. So if you remember this three-dimensional picture here, this is you say the tool is moving like this, and the cutting velocity is perpendicular to this. Or you can say that tool is actually just perpendicular to this movement of workpiece. Okay. And if the tool is not exactly right angle, but it is at some angle, then we say it is oblique cutting. So let's draw a simple figure, maybe you can understand it more. Yeah, and let's say if this is your workpiece, and your tool is like this. This is cutting tool. Then it is the case of orthogonal cutting. But if your tool is not exactly straight here, but it is at certain angle like this, then we say it is the case of oblique cutting. So while analyzing the forces acting during the machining operation, we consider the machining operation to be taking place as an orthogonal cutting operation. It just simplifies the whole operation. So we are considering this this orthogonal cutting operation. Why this force analysis is important? Because the power requirements must be determined so that a machine tool having suitable capacity can be designed. So you probably remember that the whole system is called machine tool. You know, the lathe machine or the milling machine or the drilling machine. They are we say these are machine tools, and these machine tools are designed on the basis of power requirement. So power requirements again depend on which kind of forces are being generated while machining some particular uh, material or while employing some particular cutting tool. So the whole machine tool designing is based on what are the forces which are being generated, and where the amount of various forces are also important for determining how much machine tool is stiff. Otherwise there will be a lot of vibration and distortion, and uh, it will be very, very difficult to obtain certain dimensional tolerance. So you can say there are two main objectives of force analysis. One is power requirement in order to design and develop the machine tool. The another one is to have an idea that uh, what should be the stiffness requirement and what are the kinds of vibrations taking place. So Merchant has actually proposed a basic physics-based analytical models for determining various forces involved in machining operation, and and then he designed a circle on the basis of that force equilibrium, and that circle is called as merchant circle. So merchant circle is a circle which is actually based on various forces which exist in equilibrium. So let's discuss about these forces also before we jump to um, some non-conventional machining processes. So I'm again drawing the same diagram. So here you see, let's say this is workpiece, this is cutting tool, then there is this force, the cutting force, which acts into the horizontal direction by the cutting tool, and this cutting tool also exerts some force on this base, which is called flank, and we say this force is called as thrust force. So basically the tool applies two different kinds of forces on the workpiece or chip, and these are the force, cutting force Fc, and this thrust force Ft. And because see, the whole system is in equilibrium, so let's say if this is Fc and then this is Ft, then there will be a resultant force. Let's say this is R. The resultant is the resultant of Fc and Ft. These are the forces which are being applied by the cutting tool, and on the cutting tool there are again some forces which are appearing. The first one is the friction force. See, the chip is moving upside, so the friction force will be just downwards. Let's say the friction force is F, then this friction force will act on this chip and it will act in downward direction. And you also remember that the friction force is always accompanied by a normal force. Okay, so if it is a friction force F, then there will be a normal force N on this surface on which the friction is working, and then the resultant of friction force and normal force. So I'm just redrawing it. This is the friction force, let's say this is F, and this is, let's say, the normal force, which is N. Then this resultant is R. So this resultant R and this resultant R must be same in order to keep the tool in equilibrium. Again, because the chip is also flowing upside, the same forces are also acting on the chip at the tool chip interface. So a chip is again subjected to some forces. So there is a force which is causing shear strain, and we say it is shear force Fs. And because the chip is also in equilibrium, the total number of forces must be in equilibrium with this R or this R, and therefore we must also understand that Fs is also accompanied by another force which is normal to this. Actually, shear force is also a kind of friction force. So there is this resultant of shear force and this normal force, and we say this is R dash. So all three forces must be, all three resultants must be in equilibrium in order to keep the system in equilibrium, because this is the whole system is in equilibrium. So if we try to draw Merchant circle, so Merchant circle is nothing but it's a combination of these forces which has been uh, incorporated into the circle. So let's say if this is the force Fc, so Fc is here, and then again with Fc here there is a perpendicular force Ft, that is the thrust force which is applied by the cutting tool. Then the resultant, it's, let's say this is R. And if we draw a circle by considering R as the diameter, like this, then this circle is called Merchant circle. So this force is thrust force, this is shear force, and let's say this is, sorry, this is the cutting force, this is the shear force, let's say this is Fs, and Fs is accompanied by a normal force Fn, and then there is this friction force which is just opposite to the chip movement, and then there is this normal force which is associated with this friction. So this, please ignore this line, so I'm just redrawing it. So let's say this is R, the resultant of cutting force, and thrust force. The cutting force is horizontal and this is vertical, this is thrust force, this is cutting force, and then there is this friction force just opposite to the movement of chip, and then this friction is, there is this perpendicular which is associated with this friction force, and then there is this shear force, and then this associated with this shear force is a normal force which we say Fn. You must notice that all the forces are originating from one point, and this is called origin point O, which is nothing but here, if you see, this is origin point O. So the direction of this Merchant circle, by using this Merchant circle, you can determine the direction of forces, the extent of forces. You can also measure various forces if you know the value of R, or if you know the value of Fc and Ft, then you can draw the whole, any two forces, determination of any two forces with the help of a resultant of both, you can draw Merchant circle. So simple angles are here, that is, this is shear angle phi, then, and there is this angle which we call, if we draw a perpendicular, Then this is the friction angle beta, and you see this friction force makes an angle alpha from this. Okay, so this angle is again alpha. So there are three angles involved in merchant circle. That is the rake angle alpha, the shear angle phi, and the friction angle beta. So the whole machining operation, the whole force thing actually depends on some combination of these three angles, that is shear angle, rake angle, and friction angle. So on the basis of this, there are various kinds of equations which can be derived, and I'm not just going into the detail that how these forces can be derived. I'm just writing the values of these forces, and you can refer to some standard textbook on manufacturing in order to see. These are very simple equations, and they can be derived using this merchant circle. So Fc is equal to Fs cos phi plus Fn sin phi, and Ft is equal to Fn cos phi minus Fs sin phi. Friction force F is equal to Fc sin alpha plus Ft cos alpha. The normal force is equal to Fc cos alpha minus Ft sin alpha. Similarly, the shear force is Fc cos phi minus Ft sin phi, and this normal force to shear force Fn is equal to Fc sin phi plus Ft cos phi. These are all the equations which have been written on the basis of this merchant circle, considering various triangles and associated angles. So that is almost all about these cutting forces and how these cutting forces are dependent upon the angle, shear angle, the rake angle, and the friction angle. You see, most of the in most of the cases, there is phi and alpha only, and friction angle does not play much role in the determination of most of these forces. However, you can simply find out various forces on the basis of this circle in terms of friction angle beta also. So this merchant circle is very important and is often asked in interviews or competitive exams. Here we must also note that measuring all these forces or determining all these forces is not very easy, and in most of the cases we often have to rely on experimental data, and that is why if you see most of the research papers which are available in machining depends fully upon the experimental data, and the theoretical results are often not matched with the experimental data. So there are because you see there are some important experiment on the basis of experimental data. People have done a lot of research, and on the basis of those experimental data people have determined the relationship between various angles. So Merchant has determined a relationship between various angle, and he said that the shear angle phi is actually equivalent to 45 degree plus alpha by 2 minus beta by 2. You must notice that this is the relationship which does not have any theoretical basis, but they have been determined using various experiments. And similarly, there is another Lee and Schaffer's equation, which is also used in order to signify the relationship between various angles. And according to Lee and Schaffer, the shear angle is equal to 45 degree plus alpha minus beta. And then one more, Mizuno has said that the shear angle phi is equivalent to alpha when alpha is greater than 15 degree, and shear angle is 15 degree for alpha if it is less than 15 degree. So that is how the shear angle can be determined using empirical laws, and there is no theoretical foundation of all three equations, but they have been determined using a number of experiments. So, and you must also know that shear angle is nothing but this is a zone having a width of almost 25 degree. So shear angle, if you see this equation, shear angle decreases as the rake angle decreases, or phi is directly proportional to alpha. Again, phi is inversely proportional to beta. It means that shear angle increases if friction angle decreases. So if the friction increases, you know, the chips will be thicker, and decreasing alpha and increasing beta tends to present greater resistance to the chips as it moves up the rake face of the tool, thus making the chip thicker, indicating lower shear angle. So these are all about the forces and angles which appear into the machining operation. So that's all for now. So if you have any question, you can just put